My sister banned me from her wedding. Her fiancé thinks he likes me. Hey, I'm Michelle. 20F. I'd really appreciate your thoughts on this. My older sister, Emily, 25F, is supposed to marry Jonathan, 25M. On the surface, they seemed perfect. Everyone thought they'd end up together after years as a couple, but everything suddenly went sideways. Emily has banned me from the wedding, claiming Jonathan has feelings for me and now he's refusing to marry her over it. It sounds wild, so let me explain. A little background. I'm not close with my parents or Emily. When I went to college, I drifted away. Nothing explosive happened. It was gradual. Since moving out, I've rarely spent long stretches at home. I usually traveled or stayed with my grandparents over breaks. Being away felt easier than dealing with the unpleasantness of home. I just don't fit in with them. We never clicked. They never really tried to understand me. Growing up, they bonded over things I didn't care about. Whenever I tried to bring up my own interests, they'd nod politely and steer the conversation back. After a while, I stopped trying. What stung was how little they noticed me pulling away. They seemed almost relieved, which confirmed my long-standing feeling that I didn't belong. So I limited visits to big events, birthdays, holidays, and even then I felt like a guest. Polite, surface-level conversation, no warmth. Emily and I were never close. She's the golden child, did everything right, fit the family's expectations, while I was the odd one out. They aren't malicious people exactly, but small, cutting comments from them accumulated. They felt passive-aggressive and dismissive. In the end, I decided it was better to avoid those situations than to force myself to belong. Then last Christmas, when Jonathan joined us for dinner, something changed. I didn't feel invisible. Jonathan treated me kindly, normal conversation, genuine interest. At first I wrote it off as basic politeness, but Emily reacted bad. She started giving me cold looks through dinner, and later pulled me aside to accuse me of trying to steal her boyfriend. I was stunned. Where did that come from? Jonathan and I hadn't been flirting or having secret talks. We'd chatted about travel, school, work stories, everyday things. Still, Emily insisted I was being too nice to him, and that he was behaving oddly around me. I tried to ignore it as insecurity or drama. We aren't close, but after that night things grew tense. Emily seemed to avoid me. One-word answers. Glued to Jonathan at family gatherings. My parents picked up the tone too. My mother shot strange looks when both were present. My usually indifferent dad talked more about family bonds and the importance of support. It felt passive-aggressive, like the whole house had shifted sides without anyone telling me why. I'd never been the type to seek out sibling drama, so the accusation made no sense. We barely spoke outside those gatherings. A few months later, my grandparents told me Emily was engaged. I hadn't been told by Emily. Hearing it from them felt like a punch. I wasn't expecting glittery invites, but some acknowledgement from my sister would have mattered. I kept quiet at first, giving her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she forgot, maybe she was overwhelmed with planning. Days turned into weeks, with nothing. Then Emily called me, unexpectedly. We hadn't spoken since the Christmas incident. After awkward small talk, she told me plainly, "I'm not inviting you to the wedding." I was silent for a moment. I wasn't desperate to attend, but hearing it out loud hurt. When I asked why, she said the most absurd thing. "I don't want you there because Jonathan has feelings for you. It'll be uncomfortable." I actually laughed. It was unbelievable. Jonathan has no romantic interest in me, and even if he did, I wouldn't stand up during a ceremony and profess it. The whole claim was so outlandish that I didn't even want to argue. I ended my last call with Emily by saying, "Have a great wedding and happy marriage." It honestly didn't matter whether I was part of her day. I didn't need the stress, and we're close anyway. Still, I wanted to share what happened and hear your thoughts. Am I the only one who finds this entire situation unreasonable? Have any of you experienced something similar? I'd really appreciate your advice. Yesterday was chaos, and I need to write it all down while it's still fresh. Emily's rehearsal dinner turned into a complete disaster, and somehow I was dragged into the middle of it. I was at home, working on an assignment, when my phone started blowing up. At first, I ignored it, but within minutes I had 7 missed calls from my dad. He never calls more than once, so 7 in a row meant something serious. When I answered, he sounded shaken, almost like a different person. He kept saying, "Michelle, you need to come now, it's about Jonathan and Emily." But after months of accusations and being banned from the wedding, did they really expect me to just rush over? I reminded him I wasn't invited. He begged, "Jonathan won't go through with the wedding unless you're there." Before I could process that, my mom called. She was sobbing, repeating, "Your sister needs you," as though they hadn't spent months excluding me. Then Emily called. Through tears, she admitted Jonathan had asked about me at the rehearsal. When he learned I wasn't invited, he said he couldn't marry someone who'd treat her own sister that way, and in front of both families no less. He told Emily he didn't want to join a family that rejected one of their own. Hearing this, I felt an odd sense of validation. Finally, someone had seen and spoken up about what I'd dealt with for years. But instead of owning it, Emily begged me to lie. She wanted me to show up, pretend it was my choice not to attend, and tell Jonathan everything was just a misunderstanding. After everything, being painted as the jealous sister, excluded from her wedding, and accused of trying to steal her fiancé, now she wanted me to protect her. I told her calmly, "I won't lie for you. These are the consequences of how you treated me. This isn't my responsibility to fix." She cried harder, insisting Jonathan trusted me more than her. I told her that maybe it's because I never gave him a reason not to. Then I hung up, made myself some tea, turned off my phone, and let them deal with their own mess. Over the next few hours, I had dozens of missed calls, voicemails, and texts from family members I hadn't spoken to in years. For the first time in my life, I felt certain keeping my distance was the right choice. My grandparents later told me, "Jonathan cut off all contact with Emily and my parents. The wedding is officially canceled. Emily is devastated, my parents are scrambling, but for once I feel at peace with my decision to step back." Many of you asked why I was distant from my family in the first place. Here's some background. I've struggled with social anxiety since childhood. My parents dismissed it as weakness, calling me dramatic or lazy whenever I showed symptoms. At 15, I had a panic attack during a school presentation. Instead of support, my mom said, "See? You got through it, all that drama was pointless." Emily, on the other hand, was the perfect daughter. Student body president, debate team captain, everything I wasn't. When her friends asked about me, she'd brush me off as antisocial or arrogant. Things got worse when I started college. My anxiety became overwhelming until my roommate encouraged me to see a counselor. That's when I finally received a diagnosis of social anxiety disorder. For the first time, someone explained that what I was experiencing was real and treatable. Therapy gave me tools to set boundaries and recognize harmful behavior. But when I told my family, they dismissed it. My dad said I was making excuses, and my mom claimed doctors were just inventing conditions for money. Emily rolled her eyes and said I was being dramatic again. That was the moment I realized they'd never change. Their quickness to believe I'd stolen Emily's fiancé fits the same pattern. I've always been their scapegoat, the problem to manage. Jonathan simply noticed what they had ignored for years. Their behavior toward me was toxic. It's now been a month, and here's the final update. After the wedding was called off, Emily spiraled. She somehow got my new number and shared it widely, leading to an influx of hateful messages from strangers and distant relatives. Soon, it escalated into vandalism. Eggs on my car, notes on my door, even slashed tires. The last straw was when she attempted to break into my apartment. Thankfully, I had installed security cameras after advice from this community. With recordings, photos, and messages, I built a strong case with my lawyer. Emily was charged with attempted break-in, harassment, and vandalism. The judge issued a restraining order, mandated therapy, and gave her a suspended sentence. My parents dismissed it all as pranks, insisting I was cruel for pressing charges. But this wasn't about sibling rivalry. It was criminal behavior. We also settled a civil case, where Emily had to pay damages for harassment, lost work, and emotional distress. A clause prevents my parents from interfering or acting on her behalf again. Their concern for their reputation pushed them to settle quickly. Since then, I've moved into a secure apartment, shut down old social media accounts, and rebuilt my client base. To my surprise, a new job opportunity even came out of this. For the first time, I feel free. Free from the constant criticism, the scapegoating, and the need for their approval. I'm no longer the difficult one. I'm just Michelle, building my own life. I can't thank this community enough. Your advice on documentation, security, and boundaries helped me through every step. You reminded me that DNA doesn't give someone the right to mistreat you. Sometimes the healthiest choice is to walk away and let people face the results of their own action. Therapy is helping with my anxiety, and removing toxic influences has made a bigger difference than I ever expected. I won't be updating further, because this chapter is truly closed. My focus now is on education, career, and building a supportive circle of chosen family. To everyone who supported me, thank you. You gave me the courage to step away and the strength to stand up for myself. They say living well is the best revenge. I'd add that true closure comes from finally choosing yourself. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more real-life stories happening around you.